This guy hears that they want to go to the mikveh, he starts yelling at them, what are you doing? You chassidim, you have these weird ways. He started cursing them out. And they right away lost any motivation to go to the mikveh. A door in the house opens up and a woman comes out, a very elegant looking lady. She walked towards Ba'al Shem Tov and said, Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, can you stay with us for another Shabbos? Okay, good talk everyone. It's a story about the Ba'al Shem Tov. The Ba'al Shem Tov was once traveling, and the wagon driver, who was an expert in the roads, decided to take a shortcut through the forest. And everything looked good in the beginning, but then he started to lose his way. In the beginning, he thought he could find his way back, but eventually he had to let everybody know that he thought that they were lost. Now, he had 3 Talmidim with him, and he was quiet the entire time. Normally, the Ba'al Shem Tov would speak and teach his Talmidim, whoever was with him, he would speak to them and tell them Divrei Torah, and it was, it was a lot of talking in Torah the whole way. But this time, the Ba'al Shem Tov was very quiet. And the reason that the Ba'al Shem Tov was so quiet was actually because he had lost his spiritual powers. He lost all his moichin, all his divine intuition, all his ruach hakodesh, and it really gave him a lot of distress. He was in a lot of tsar. And the fact that they also got lost was also because of that, because normally the horses would find the way themselves. It wasn't so much that they relied on the wagon driver, but they had to have a wagon driver. And he was just like a regular person. It really made him feel bad. And they actually were lost for a few days. And only on Friday in the afternoon did they find their way out of the forest. And they saw a certain clearing in the forest. And they saw a house there. So they knock on the door. The person who answered the door was a Yid who seemed to be very rough and a coarse person. Not a very pleasant guy to deal with. He had dirty clothing, and he said, I don't need you guys here. Go away, I don't want you here. Before any of them even had anything to say. And he said, you guys look like chassidim, and I hate the chassidim. So go away. The Ba'al Shem Tov and Talmidim didn't know what to do. It was right almost Shabbos. And they tried to beg him, to take them in. He didn't listen to anything. Only when they offered him a big amount of money was he like, okay, but on one condition. I know how the chassidim are. You guys are always doing things in weird ways. I don't want, when you come this Shabbos, you're not going to sing. You're not going to make loud noises when you daven. Right? You're gonna act normal, he says. So they realized that if they want to spend Shabbos in a place with any shelter and be able to keep Shabbos, even, with half normalcy, that they would have to listen to what he said. And so they agreed against their own will. They walked into the house and they see there's pashat nothing in the house. There's nothing there, just 4 legs and a piece of wood on top as a table, nothing else. They put their stuff down and they wanted to go outside to find the mikveh. And the second that this guy hears that they want to go to the mikveh, he starts yelling at them, what are you doing? You chassidim, you have these weird ways. He started cursing them out. And they right away lost any motivation to go to the mikveh. And they had to convince him not to throw them out then and there. It didn't seem that there was any preparations going on for Shabbos in this house. It was already close to Shabbos, and it says he was eating watermelon, before Shabbos. Mamish, right before Shkia, he put like a black tablecloth that was not at all Shabbos-tic on the table. And he put like a clump of clay on, made a hole in it with his finger, put in a little candle, and that was, the light for Shabbos. The chassidim already realized that they weren't going to have a very pleasant Shabbos. They didn't even see him davening mincha, and he started to daven Kabbalah Shabbos very quickly, swallowing the words. And because he made this condition with them that they couldn't do anything, they also had to daven and catch up with him. They had to go very quickly, and they didn't have any pleasure from their davening. So right after davening, they said Good Shabbos to him, and him, instead of answering them normally Good Shabbos, he said, you should have a terrible year. So they wanted to sing Shalom Aleichem, and right away again he starts cursing them out. So the Baal Bayis, this guy, he pours himself Kiddush and says Kiddush, and when they wanted to also take some wine to make Kiddush on their own, as the minhag by chassidim, he yelled at them, my Kiddush is not good enough. You guys are a bunch of drunkards. You don't have to make Kiddush. And any begging that they did, and even any hints that they made that they would even add in the amount that they were going to give him, he didn't let. He took a black loaf of bread, put it on the table, and he broke it up into pieces. And they asked him about Lechem Mishnah, and again, he gave them a bunch of curses. He said, don't you dare touch the bread with your dirty hands. And he gave them, a small little piece for each of them. And then he brought a big bowl of lentils, and he gave each of them a spoon that they should all eat out of the same bowl. And nothing else was given to them. Now, they weren't able to sing Izmiris, and definitely not say Divrei Torah. And they were pashut so broken and sad. And the Ba'al Shem Tov and the Chassidim, they went to sleep on a straw mat that this Baal Bayis gave to them, to sleep on the floor. Now, the same thing happened the next day. Davening was very quickly, and after that came the Suda, quote unquote. And the whole time he was really giving them a hard time. After Mincha, they wanted to do a Suda Shlishis, and he said, you guys are a bunch of gluttonous, drunken people. You just ate your Shabbos meal, now you want to eat again? So the Ba'al Shem Tov and his Talmidim waited, they couldn't wait until Shabbos ended just to leave, even though they didn't know how they would get out of the place. But one thing they knew, that staying here was not an option. So after Shabbos goes out, they were about to leave, but the Baal Bayis, one way or another, doesn't say in the story how, but he convinced them to stay, and he had them stay there somehow until Wednesday. And only on Wednesday in the morning did he accept payment and let them go. At the moment they're about to leave, a door in the house opens up and a woman comes out, very elegant looking lady. She walked towards Ba'al Shem Tov and said, Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, can you stay with us for another Shabbos? Now, they're all like, what's going on over here? Where did this woman come from? And how does she know that he's the Ba'al Shem Tov? How does she know he's a Rebbe? So he answers her and he says, if you know I was a Rebbe, then how did you let me pass such a horrible time? And so the woman says, do you not recognize me? So the Ba'al Shem Tov was quiet, and she said, I was a housekeeper in your house. She was a young orphan. The Ba'al Shem Tov's wife, the Rebbetzin, took her in and pashut took care of her like a mother. And when she came to her, her head was full of wounds and sores. And so there had to be special treatment for the sores of her head. And so she would give this treatment. Now, this treatment was very painful. So this lady is telling Ba'al Shem Tov, one of the times when your wife was giving me treatment and you were there, it was so painful that I tried to stop her. And her, out of love, wanting to give me the treatment, the Rebbetzin, out of love, she gave her a slap in the face in order so she should stop, so she should stay still and finish the treatment. Now the Ba'al Shem Tov was there, and he didn't say anything. He didn't reproach her or stand up for her. And because this lady is saying, because you are a tzaddik, and in Shemayim, every single action of a tzaddik is judged very, very exactly. So it was decreed that you were going to lose your Ilam Haba. Now, my husband and I, and she points to her husband who's really a tzaddik nister, right? He's really a hidden tzaddik. We were able to be poiled through davening that instead of you actually losing Ilam Haba, we can take away a Shabbos of your life. And Shabbos is me'ein Ilam Haba, it's like a slice of heaven. So if you have if you lose all the pleasure of a Shabbos, one Shabbos in this world, then you won't have to lose your Ilam Haba in actuality. And that's why we gave you this horrible experience of Shabbos in order not to have to lose your Ilam Haba. And that's why you had to lose your way in the forest and reach us in order for this to happen. At that moment, the Ba'al Shem Tov feels that all his koiches, all of his Ruach HaKodesh came back to him. And he understood that this is why he had to receive some sort of retribution for him not standing up for this orphan girl. The lady asked the Ba'al Shem Tov and the Talmidim to stay in the house one more Shabbos. And this Shabbos, they understood that it would be a totally different experience. Especially because the Ba'al Shem Tov also had his Ruach HaKodesh back, and this Baal Bayis, who was not as unpleasant as he had shown, and it was really a tzaddik nister, they spent a very pleasant Shabbos together. And Itaka was, Me'ein Elam Haba, actually was a little slice of heaven. So may we have a beautiful week. May we experience Shabbos in a way that is Taka, a slice of heaven. And good luck, everybody.